Hello, I'm Leroy Garcia, and this is Blue Rain Gallery Podcast. Today in the studio we have with us a wonderful master jeweler in Sharon Meyer. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We're honored to have you here. Blue Rain, for many years, was known as a contemporary Native American art gallery. And for the most part, we've only represented contemporary Native artists. But over the last maybe 10 years or so, we've kind of opened our floor to everybody who has talent. And Denise Fediplace, who's the executive director of Blue Rain, noticed Sharon Meyer's work probably at Chicago Sofa would be my guess, where there's a lot of great jewelers and great artists there too. It's pretty cool. So being that a lot of us don't know a lot about Sharon, we're going to have her tell us a little bit about her history, where she was born, where she currently works, maybe a little bit about your education and your artistic journey into jewelry.
Well, I'm from Michigan, just outside of Detroit. Was born there and currently reside there. I love Michigan, so it's a good place to hang out for me.
Beautiful state.
Yeah, it is. It is. And journey. I've been creating jewelry for over 35 years as an adult, but it started as a child.
Oh, nice.
I had an incredible mentor in my grandmother, and I actually started making jewelry out of wire when I was 8 years old.
So is your grandmother a jeweler?
No, not at all.
Oh, wow.
Not at all. My jewelry really kind of encompasses many different forms, whether it's large scale or small scale. And I've always taken, it's like an amalgam of things. And that's kind of what I did when I was a child. My grandmother had found objects and keep me busy. We were always making things together. Even when I was 8, I ended up taking magazine pages and rolling them on tiny wooden dolls, and always using wooden dolls as a stick. These waste paper baskets, and I went door to door, and I would take orders for them.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like from a very young age, I was always creating something. And having somebody there to encourage me was amazing. So, and then I went on to school. I was fortunate enough in a public school that had an amazing art department. We didn't have one art teacher. We had 4.
Oh, wow. That's
so
nice.
I was exposed to everything, from painting and art history and pottery. I've always loved working in clay. Doing terracotta pots and hand rubbing it, rather than putting it in the kiln to fire. I always tended to do things that none of the other students wanted to do. Just really dove in. But I think my favorite class was the metalsmithing class. And once I got hooked into casting and soldering and
you liked the fire.
I liked the fire. I liked the machinery, the tools, because as a child I never had tools to work with. It was more of crafts. But metalsmithing gave me tools to work with, and a really large creative palette. I mean, everything was wide open to me.
Right.
So in class, when you were supposed to create one ring, I was staying after when school closed for the summer, and my teacher let me finish 4 other rings.
Wow. Nice.
So it really became a passion for me at that point.
Speaking of rings, I recently purchased my wife one of Sharon's rings, and she loves it.
I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you.
I was just blown away by the workmanship on that.
Thanks.
And you were explaining a little bit about that particular ring, but a lot of thought behind that.
Yeah. I love that I get to make people happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
So most of your journey since that point has been mostly experimentation on your
Always
own?
on my own. So after high school, I'm pretty much self-taught. So I was able to, slowly build up my repertoire of how to do things, and the purchasing of, all the materials.
Well, just learning about diamonds and stones and all the mediums that you're working with, that takes some good knowledge, right?
Well, and a lot of that just comes with experience. I'm not a gemologist, and yet I've had, jewelry stores that will call me and they'll get something that they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I can tell them what it is because I work in both precious and semi-precious.
Right.
I trust my diamond dealers immensely. I know what I like to look at, but as I said, I'm not a gemologist. I'm the creator.
Right.
I have the creative aspects going.
I think there was two type of branding that you're doing, a couture line and then a designer line. Is that how you've broken it up?
I kind of
like
do that. So what I call the designer line is things that are created out of sterling silver. Mm-hmm. And the couture line are things created out of 18 karat gold.
Okay.
Once in a while, there'll be a little bit of 14 karat, but I love the color of 18 karat.
Wonderful. So I had Sharon bring a few pieces to talk about today, and so we'll start with the first one, which is a brooch. So Sharon, go ahead and tell us a little bit about this piece.
Okay, so this brooch is in sterling silver with the center in a black Tahitian pearl, and it's created out of filigree work. The filigree work are actually individual petals on this piece. I've made a mold, and from the mold I cast multiple pieces, and then I've soldered them all together. And in the back side, you'll see that there's a lot of structure to it because you want to be able to put this, it's a larger brooch, so you want to be able to put it on heavy enough fabric. So the back of it has this whole system of structure in the back. And it also allows for the pearl to go on. One of the things that I do with a lot of my work is the engineering of how things should lay and how they should feel. Mm-hmm. I wear my work, so I know how I want it to work. And so with this brooch, if it had just one pin on the back, it would flop. So I've actually put 2 pins on the back of it, so it'll have good structure when it's worn as well.
That way it won't be all flopping like...
Yeah, so those are things I think about when I'm designing and working on the piece.
Yeah, it looks very comfortable. Okay, let's talk about something more on the contemporary end here. The sterling silver black tourmaline and mammoth tusk
yeah.
necklace.
So it's actually ivory, but it's prehistoric. And it's, and you'll see throughout my collection, I can go from one extreme to the other, from contemporary to even an Asian feel. And this piece has some weight to it, but it's well-rounded around the neck. The black tourmaline is just lovely. It's got a matte finish, but then it has a little bit of spark to it. And it has, and you'll see it on many of my works, my signature clasp. It's a beautiful hooking clasp, really easy to work. It lays beautifully, and it has my logo on it.
Oh, nice.
My logo is a peacock. And when you think about it, the beautiful bird with all the different colors. And my work is about all the different colors.
Well, looking at it, it's very colorful. Also, the first piece we're talking about, the brooch, compared the brooch to this necklace, the brooch is so delicate, and the necklace is kind of meaty.
Right.
So
yeah, it has weight to it.
Yeah,
I do.
Crossing dynamics.
I go all across the board.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool. All right, let's talk about the ring.
Tanzanite ring.
Yeah. Describe the stones and the materials in that one.
Okay, so this is a larger ring, and it's tanzanite, but it's not faceted. So this is a stone that was cut in Germany, and it has a beautiful beveled edge down each side of it. But within the stone, you'll see the natural crazing or almost look like fracturing inside the stone, which gives it the sparkle. Even though it's a smooth stone, it gives it the sparkle.
And what's causing the sparkle in it, though?
That's the natural spark inside of the stone. So,
like a matrices, like in turquoise? But...
Yeah, or if you think about like rutilated quartz and the rutilation that grows inside, this is like natural crazing that happens. And so it lended itself perfect to be cut more cabochon style. Yeah. And then I have... down a row on each side are square cut diamonds. So I love how they, much like the aquamarine ring,
right.
I love how square stones nest so nice and tight next to each other. So this one's very architectural looking when you look at the sides of it.
I was going to ask you the influence of the shape.
Yeah,
Where'd you get this idea?
I have more ideas in my head than I know.
Are you always do you pre-sketch all this stuff out?
It's sketched in my head first, and then I do sketch. I'm not good at drawing, but everything is sketched that I create. And
Such
more
a
technical
contemporary
drawings.
shape. That's such a contemporary design
I know.
and shape. Oh my God!
And then you look at some of my other work. So when you look in a case of my work, it almost looks like there's 5 different artists.
Yeah, or
in
more.
it. Right?
Or
yeah, or more things.
So is this a men's ring?
It could be.
I think it's more lady. Though.
I think with the color,
Yeah.
you actually have a ruby ring here that is a bit smaller, but it truly could be a man's ring.
Yeah.
And my work can be adjusted to.
I just like the design
that.
of the silver work on
Thanks.
that. Man, that's
Thanks.
great.
That one's actually an 18-karat white gold.
Oh, it's white gold.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I like that way. It keeps it bright.
Yes.
And you wouldn't want to
Don't have the tarnish.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to do the investment in those amount of diamonds and tanzanite and
Right.
silver. And
Yeah.
the metal's too soft and silver to
Well, it is
hold the
beautiful.
stones.
Man, so whoever wants to get their wife a nice Christmas present, come and see us.
Yeah, and that's unusual for tanzanite. I mean, that's not something you see, which
Right.
is what I like in my collection is unusual.
Right, which leads to the earrings. Those earrings look really cool.
So if you look at them, I love that I did them opposites.
Yes.
And yet they have the same weight balance. So when they're on, you almost have to look twice to say, okay, one's upside down. But I love the balance of it. You'll notice on those, and I'm not sure if you'll see in the picture, yeah, the structure again, I'd like to have everything made. That has my signature bezel.
Yes.
So a bezel is the metal that holds a stone.
Oh, the bezel
So
around.
that's called the bezel. And so that's the signature bezel that I came up with a few years ago. And you'll see it throughout my work. I'll use it, large pendants or on earrings. I've even done some where I've set square stones. Again, I love square stones in some of the open work. So
That's
that
just beautiful.
would be considered open work, whereas the pin is filigree work.
Right. And so tell me about the clasp.
So that is called like a lever back clasp. So the circle actually opens up, and then the post will be inside, and then the post will go through, and then it'll close, and you'll hear like a little click. So you know you have it on.
That's cool.
And those are semi-faceted garnets, and then the black and white banded agate.
I noticed the reinforcement on the backside, similar
Yeah.
to the filigree.
And you'll see that in a lot of my work. I like figuring out how best to make the piece.
The engineering, right?
Yeah.
Well, and like Sharon was telling me, these are really comfortable earrings. They're weight balanced, perfect. She designs things, especially that she can wear. So I like that.
Well, I mean, not that I wear all my work, but I wear my work. So I want to know how it's going to feel when the person that eventually owns it is going to feel really comfortable in it too. So.
Well, let's talk about these. There's 2 necklaces here that are very beautiful, very different in color palette, but they're the similarity. What I'm looking at is the carved stones that you've chosen. So tell us a little bit about the gold moonstone and carved jade.
So this is yellow jade. Jade comes in many different colors, but I love this yellow because it's almost like a mustardy. It's got some depth to it with a little bit of light color coming up in the dragon's head. I've always been enamored with Asian art, and so you'll see an influence in some of my work. And this.
So these are carved from in Asia? And you
Yes.
find those? Okay.
Yes.
And then you're just incorporating them in.
Yes.
So,
But I love really good jade and really good.
man, they're beautiful. The carving on these stones is so beautiful.
And the polish on them.
And how you interact
So-
with this.
So, and then the yellow jade pieces were actually rings, and I cut the rings in half and then set them in gold. So we had a half dome. Right. So again, taking something from what it was once intended to be, and then I'll turn it into something totally different. So you have just a little hint of gold going on the sides. And because of the light green going on in the center carving, I chose to put it with the moonstone. So it has a really soft palette.
Yes.
And you'll see with the double strand and the flat side on the yellow, it lies perfectly when you have it on. So
We're going to have some models tonight.
it's comfortable. And again, my signature clasp is on
Nice.
that one too.
Yeah, I noticed that. And tell us now about the pink one.
The pink one, it is a large pendant. It's probably 3.5 inches long. And both shades, you're looking at the beads around the neck, and then the pendant are both pink Peruvian opal. So one of the few places that you'll ever find that color is in Peru.
Wow.
So I love that my stones come from all over the world. And this one I did very contemporary, center with the gold banding. I wanted this necklace is about pink.
Right. Oh, it's
And,
totally pink.
and it's about pink. So it didn't need, this was more about, the love of the stones.
Yeah.
And I've had it on. I'm hoping to wear it tomorrow.
Good.
Because it really makes you feel good when you're wearing it.
Well, we're excited about your jewelry, and yes, when you look at a Sharon Meyer case, it's like tons of artists in there.
Yeah.
You have a lot of creativity flowing.
I go
through
from
you.
one extreme to the other, but that's what keeps it fresh. And,
Right.
I have, in the case, there's meteorite and dinosaur bone,
Whatever you can find, that's cool.
and that's how I purchase. It's what speaks to me,
Well, that's wonderful.
and then I create from it.
Well, we'd like to encourage everybody to go to our website, blueraingallery.com, and look at Sharon Meyer's work. And if you're here in Santa Fe, please stop by. And there's one thing to see it digitally, but there's another thing to actually feel it and see how comfortable it lays and wears.
Yeah, and some of these larger pieces I've brought special for this show. There's many more of stones that you've never seen before.
I'm already blown away.
No, but there's green garnet and big aquamarine and just some really unusual things to come in and see.
Yeah, it's tempting for me to not always buy everything, but it's good. I like the ring that we bought.
You have to share.
Yes, I know. I'm gonna have to pass it out a little bit. Anyways, I'd like to thank Sharon for coming in today for our little podcast. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
It's been
Thank
a pleasure.
you.
I'd like to encourage everybody to join our podcast. So I sign up on all the platforms from iTunes or wherever you do podcasts. You can also go to blueraingallery.com under the podcast tab in the menu bar. Also like to encourage everybody to bring art with you into your everyday life by going to bluerainprintshop.com. Thank you.